Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. So let's just dive right in, because today we are unpacking what is honestly one of the most transformative mindset shifts in the entire history of personal development. We're looking at Stephen Covey's absolutely legendary framework, and we are focusing specifically on the very first habit: be proactive. Now, if you have ever felt like life is just sort of happening to you rather than for you, well, this is the fundamental concept that literally flips the script. So, let me ask you something real quick. Have you ever blamed someone else for a bad day? You know, something like, my boss completely ruined my mood, or the traffic made me late, or maybe even, I can't succeed because I just don't have the right opportunities. I mean, we've all been there, right? We have all said things exactly like this. And honestly, it is a completely natural human reaction to believe that our happiness and our success somehow depend on other people or our external circumstances. But, as you'll see, that natural reaction is exactly the thing we need to challenge.
And that brings us perfectly to our core thesis for today. Stephen Covey says, "I am not a product of my circumstances, I am a product of my decisions." Highly effective people simply do not let circumstances control their lives. They aren't sitting around waiting for the stars to align or for other people to treat them perfectly. Instead, they actively choose how to respond to every single situation. This one simple shift in mindset, from being a product of what happens to you to being a product of what you actually decide, can completely change the trajectory of your entire life.
Okay, let's jump into section 1, the blame game: why we let circumstances control us. You see, having a reactive mindset makes our daily happiness completely dependent on external, totally unpredictable conditions. And honestly, living that way is just exhausting, because the outside world is always changing. Imagine two different people losing their jobs on the exact same day. The reactive response is immediate, crushing defeat. My life is over. Nothing ever goes right for me. This person is letting the outside event entirely dictate their internal emotional state and their future. But the proactive response, they view that exact same traumatic event as a pivot point. They think, well, this is difficult for sure, but maybe it's an opportunity to learn some new skills and find an even better career. The crucial difference, literally the only difference here, is their response. That is proactivity in action. Moving right along to section 2, defining true proactivity, more than just taking initiative.
Proactivity goes so much deeper than just, getting things done early. It means taking absolute, unconditional responsibility for your choices, your actions, and your attitudes. Let's say you're preparing for a massive, high-stakes exam. The reactive student complains, the teacher doesn't explain well, the whole exam is just unfair. They're entirely shifting the blame outward. The proactive student, facing the exact same subpar class, takes charge. They say, okay, maybe the class isn't enough. I'll watch online lessons, I'll read extra books, and I'll practice more. Now, who do you think is going to actually succeed? The proactive student, every single time. Success really begins the exact second we stop complaining about the conditions and start taking real responsibility for our preparation.
Which brings us to section 3, the space to choose your ultimate freedom. This right here is arguably one of the most powerful and liberating concepts in the entire source material when it comes to how we process the things that happen to us on a daily basis. Between every stimulus and your response to it, there's a literal, tangible space. And inside that space lies your absolute freedom to choose. For example, let's say someone insults you. That's the stimulus. A reactive person skips the space entirely. They immediately get angry, they yell, they argue back. But a proactive person, they step right into that space. Instead of just reacting, they utilize the pause. They stop, they think carefully, and they consciously choose whether that stray comment even deserves a response at all. Taking just a small pause in this space before reacting to an insult or a frustrating email or a sudden problem at work, it can prevent massive amounts of unnecessary conflict and lead to far, far better decisions. Remember, you own the pause.
Next up is section 4, your circles of focus. Where does your energy go?
Covey introduces a brilliant mental model here that really helps us categorize our daily stresses, stop wasting our energy, and direct our focus to where it actually matters. He divides our focus into 2 distinct circles. The first is the circle of concern. Now, these are the things you care about, often deeply, but cannot directly control. We're talking global events, what other people think of you, the state of the economy. And, a lot of people spend their entire day agonizing over these things. But unfortunately, spending all your time and emotional energy worrying inside the circle of concern does absolutely nothing to actually change those things. It just drains you completely. Then, on the flip side, we have the circle of influence. These are the things you have direct, immediate control over. Things like your attitude, your learning, your relationships, how hard you work.
This is exactly where highly effective people choose to live. They channel all their energy into improving themselves and their immediate situations right within this circle.
When you compare these two side by side, the difference is honestly staggering. If you focus on concerns, the economy, politics, the weather, other people's opinions, you are essentially becoming a victim of the world. But if you shift that exact same energy over to your influence, your attitude, your habits, your work ethic, your health, you naturally grow your personal power. As you improve yourself, instead of just complaining about the weather or the economy, your actual influence in the world starts to expand.
So, how do we do this? Let's look at Section 5, Taking Control Today, Small Daily Changes.
The good news is you don't need some massive overnight transformation to become proactive. It is entirely about small, consistent, daily decisions. Here are 4 highly actionable steps you can start using today. Step 1, stop blaming others. Instead of saying, "They made me angry," try saying, "I chose to respond with anger." I know it sounds small, but it immediately gives you back your control. Step 2, focus on what you can control. Just ask yourself every morning, what can I improve today? Step 3, replace complaints with action. When you catch yourself complaining, and we all do it, ask, okay, what action can I take instead? Even one tiny little action beats endless complaining. And finally, step 4, choose positive language.
I want to dive into step 4 a bit more because shifting your vocabulary literally rewires your brain. Just listen to this reactive language. I have to do this. I can't do that. If only things were different. It's the language of a victim, right? Now listen to the proactive shift. I choose to. I will. I'll find a way. It immediately gives you back your power because your words actively shape your mindset and ultimately your entire reality. Let's ground this whole thing with something we literally all experience, being stuck in terrible traffic. The reactive person gets incredibly frustrated, aggressively honks their horn at a minivan that obviously isn't moving anyway, and arrives at the office completely stressed out, carrying all that toxic energy into their day. The proactive person? They just accept the situation because, well, it's in their circle of concern. They can't change it, so they listen to a great audiobook or just enjoy some rare quiet time. The traffic is identical. The experience, however, is a choice. So, let's quickly summarize our key takeaways from the source material today. Proactivity equals taking unconditional responsibility for your choices. Remember, you control your response, not every single random event that happens to you. You need to relentlessly focus your energy on your circle of influence, which is where you actually have real power. It's those small daily decisions that create long-term success. And ultimately, this kind of radical responsibility is the absolute foundation of true personal effectiveness. Habit 1 is the bedrock that makes all other personal growth possible. Without it, lasting change just isn't going to happen.
Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a bit of a provocative thought. Think of a recent situation, maybe even something that happened today, where you blamed someone else for how you felt or what happened. Now really ask yourself, if you had focused entirely on what you could control instead, what would you have done differently? I challenge you to take a moment right now, actually grab a pen and write down your answer. Reclaim that space between the stimulus and your response.
Well, that does it for this explainer on Habit 1. But listen, the journey definitely doesn't stop here. Coming up next in part 3 of our series, we are going to dive straight into Habit 2, begin with the end in mind. We'll learn exactly how to step into that proactive space you just built and use it to design a crystal clear vision for your future before you even live it. It's a real game changer and you absolutely won't want to miss it. So keep focusing on your circle of influence and I will see you next time.